Hi, everybody. Hello, this is Mike Messier. I'm here on MikeMessier.com. I've got a special guest. She's from the website Screenwritehow.com. She is a coach for screenwriters in a very unique way. Suzanne Gundersen. Hi, Suzanne. How are you today?
I'm great, Mike. How you doing?
I'm good, and already I'm impressed by your patience because we had some technical issues today on my end, not on yours. And you are such a patient lady, and I think that must come from the techniques that you've studied and practiced in your own life, which now you're helping screenwriters. So I want to give you the floor, and I want you to introduce screenwritenow.com, what you can do to help people, and then we'll get right into it.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you. I'm Suzanne Gundersen, and I help writers to be able to clear blocks and fears and embody more authenticity and wisdom in the work that they do in their writing. And how I do that is through a technique that I call neuroenergy tapping. And it's a self-use acupressure technique where you literally use your fingers to tap on energy points of the body. And when you're doing that, you are shifting how you feel and experience your body, your emotions, and your thoughts. And I'll just say that having used this technique now for about 15 years on myself, and I have another business where I teach natural stress management, I have learned to never push the river. There's always a flow to life, and that I just want to be in the flow. So thanks for appreciating my patience, but I really just feel like this is who I am now, as somebody who can be in the present moment safely and comfortably without having to kind of drag myself into the past of my stress or the anxiety of the future. I don't like living in either one of those places, although life can pull you there. I think really the gift is to learn to stay focused in the present moment. And that's where I've taken my 15 years of natural stress management and translated that to help writers specifically to be able to get into their rhythm and flow, which is where most of their best creativity comes from.
And Suzanne, I was telling you before we were on the air today that my block as a writer is not so much the actual writing. I feel like I can, especially if it's a short script or a short play, I feel like give me 24 hours or even 6 hours, I can write something, 5 pages, 10 pages. Give me a couple of months, I can write a screenplay, a feature film screenplay. I find that what's frustrating for me as a writer and also as a filmmaker is that I write these scripts, I put a lot of time into them, and either A, they're not produced at all, or I write something that's out of budget, meaning that I can't afford to film it. And then I'm looking for film contests, or I'm looking for friends who are in the film industry to read my scripts. And sometimes they've got a backlog of other scripts. So they might say they're going to read it, and then they don't. And to be honest, the one time that I did write something that was produced or distributed by a major motion picture company, I wasn't terribly satisfied with the results, for various reasons. So my question to you is for someone who's coming at it from my perspective of the frustrated writer, not the writing block per se, but the writer who is frustrated with the industry or what happens to screenplays once they're done writing them. Is your techniques also helpful in that regard?
Oh, absolutely. When maybe I need to define what the word block is. And the word block necessarily isn't necessarily just I have a blank page and I can't fill it. But it is that it's also the inner critic. It's the person that voice inside of you that says you're not good enough or I can't finish this. It's also any kind of worries or fears that you have, the frustrations, the emotions that you're experiencing through the writing journey, whether it's how am I going to write this, or how do I feel about this, or or the process of trying to get someone to read it. That to me is still a block, as well as also blocks can be physical, visceral experiences of anxiety. They can be of tension, tightness, pressure that we might be feeling in the body. So that's where, I look at blocks in three ways in terms of how the body's feeling, how our emotions are feeling, and what kind of thoughts we're having. So all three of those, maybe combined or individually, could be a block. So certainly, your frustrations is a block because if you're full of some emotion that's not balanced or in the flow, then you're not able to receive what it is that you want and the balance of, I'm at ease and I'm at peace, knowing that the right producer is going to read my script in the right time. but you're not thinking that way. You're not having that wisdom. You're not embodying that wisdom when you're just like, why aren't they reading it? They said they were going to read it yesterday. It's been a week already. They never read it at all. So all that frustration is its own resistance into the flow. So that's what I help people do, is kind of clear that and get back into it.
And just so people know, you are located in the state of Florida. However, through Zoom technology, Skype technology, you are available to people, writers worldwide. And if I will not presume, but I'll ask: are you also able to help people that write novels, novellas, other works of writing that are not feature film screenplays, plays,
Yeah.
stage plays?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So I am based in Florida, but thanks to the World Wide Web and Zoom technology and every other video chat that's been out there, I'm doing more and more of my work, over that medium. Um, I Now that I just said that, I was like, what was the next brilliant thing I was going to just say? So yeah, I do those kinds of sessions over Zoom. I used to spend a lot of time going to LA, but now there's writers all over the place. So it's not like I have to be anywhere specific. And what was the second part of your question?
Well, just that it's not just screenplays. It could be a stage play writer or a book writer.
So how I actually got started working with writers was because, I'd mentioned I've worked in natural stress management for the last 15 years, helping people who have chronic stress and mostly anxiety to be able to help them, reconnect to their bodies and their lives. And I met a writer about 5 years ago who was an author. And she asked me if I could help her clear her writer's block. And I never had really thought about using my natural stress management techniques to help authors or writers. So I did help her, and she finished her second novel, and then that kind of led me into a pathway of working with some other novels. I'm sorry, with some other authors that she had been, collaborating with. And then I kind of fell in with some screenwriters because I often go out to Santa Monica. I know a lot of people in the industry, and so I said, well, hey, I've been working with this author. How about I help you? So that kind of got me into the avenue of working with screenwriters. But certainly, if you're a writer of any kind, like you said, this works for everybody. I just happened to kind of fall into a little niche recently with screenwriters and happily, working with these folks. But any type of writing.
The website, once again, folks, is screenwritenow.com. And also, do you want to mention your other website, because you work with people that not necessarily are writers? Do you want to mention your other website real quick, and then we'll get further into it?
Sure, sure. So I have another, my other category of work is to work with people with chronic stress, trauma, PTSD, anxiety, and that website is transformedconnections.com.
Just, I got to say, on post-traumatic, people have no clue how important that study is, because when people are children and they experience horrible things, or even when they're teens, adults, they experience something, they never get help, whether it's therapy, whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy, what you're doing, what other people are doing, or processing in some way. These things that we experience as childhood or even as adults, it can screw with you. And my theory is that this whole 2020 of seeing people get shot on television on a nightly basis, you turn on YouTube or Twitter and you see people fighting the police or getting attacked by the police, whatever it is you're watching, whatever your political stand on it, to me, it's not healthy and it's not normal to see citizens getting shot by the police or rioting or protesting or burning down buildings. I think the whole world is getting post-traumatic stress syndrome, giving it to itself, which I think there's going to be ramifications for years, Suzanne.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree on that. And I think that everyone is kind of waking up to accepting the word trauma in their life. And that whether it's a little T trauma or a big T trauma, whether it came from early developmental years or something that happened to you as an event or an experience, every body has a different resilience level. And so a lot of the work that I do is help people to identify what their unique resilience level is, what's their window of tolerance of their stress, and then be able to increase it that way that they can handle more of what the experience of life might be giving to them. And as well as not just triggering what they've, have dealt with in the past, but then what we're dealing with in the present and what we have to deal with in the future.
Well, Suzanne, I think the best way, if you're up for it, the best way to help other people with this situation, in other words, to encourage people to contact you, is what I'm getting at. because sometimes we can talk, but if people don't see a practice in action, they don't know what it is.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you're game, I'm game. If you can give us whatever amount you want to afford, help me through this process with my block and frustrations, and maybe that'll inspire other people to contact you.
Brilliant. So let's go for it. So the first thing I want to do is just go over a few of the energy tapping points I like to use. And if people are listening to this and they're saying, oh, hey, she's probably talking about EFT or emotional freedom technique, what I do is a little bit different, right? I'm kind of a geeky science intuitive, and I've kind of combined a lot of my studies over the last 15, 20 years into what I call neuroenergy tapping, because I have a lot of study in neuroscience as well. So it kind of is like EFT, but it's not. So if you don't even know what I'm talking about, forget I said anything and just kind of go with the flow now. But I want to share with you the few energy tapping points that we're going to use to do this process. Remember, I mentioned that what I do, neuroenergy tapping, is a self-use acupressure technique. So just for practice, let's just take two fingers, either hand, index, middle finger, and just start tapping between your eyebrows. This is the first point you're going to tap on. We're just practicing. Now I want you to tap enough that you can hear a padding sound. So I want you to hear that padding sound, okay?
I
Then I want
hear
you to
it.
tap about 5 to 10 times per point. The second point you're going to use is on the side of the eye right here on your temple. So just take your two fingers and tap there. Now you can tap both sides if you want to. You can tap one side, you can change sides. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal right now. Point is for you to hear that padding sound, and do it about 10 or 15 times, and then tap under your eye, on your cheekbones. Like I said, one side, both sides, doesn't matter. Remember to breathe. And then you're going to take all your fingers and just get a nice bounce on your collarbones right here. Remembering to breathe. And then you're going to take one hand and squeeze the opposite wrist a couple times. And that's it. Those are the points that we're going to use. Now, how we use them, this is the good stuff. So step number one is to notice something that bothers you. For you right now, you're sharing with me it's frustration. So I want you to connect with that part of you that's feeling frustrated. And the one and only question you ever have to ask yourself through this entire process is, how do I know this frustration? How do I know? How do you know that you're frustrated? Do you see a movie in your mind? Do you see pictures? Do you hear voices, noises, sounds? Do you feel sensations in your body? What is it that you're doing to create this frustration for yourself? Maybe you just feel it viscerally. Maybe you feel like a fire coming up through you. Maybe you just hear someone's voice saying, no, we're not going to read your script today. And you're like, what? Or maybe you're getting that email that says, hey, haven't read it in a week, I'll get to it later. Or maybe you're just seeing that no email's coming in that says I've read it. Whatever your proof is, that's where you want to aim. So aim at that. I call that your block. So aim at your frustration. That's step number one. Step number two is give it an intensity number on a scale of 0 to 10. So right now, give me a number. Where are you on it? If 0 means it doesn't bother you, 10 is you're really frustrated, what number would you pick?
I'd say 9, a legitimate 9.
All right, 9, great. So step number 3 would be to go to the part that stands out the most, the worst part of it, the part where you go, oh, this is the part that just gets me. Because usually that takes you to a 10. So just go to the part that stands out the most. Just put all your focus and awareness right there. And while you're there, right there, just take your two fingers and tap between your eyes, lift your chin up a little bit, and say, I let it go.
Let it go. Let it
Tap on
go.
the side of the eye,
Let
say,
it
I
go.
let it go.
Let it go. I let it go.
Tap under your eye, just say, I let it go.
I let it go. I let it go. I
Tap
let
on
it
your
go.
collarbones, say, I let it go.
Let it go. Let it go.
Remember to breathe. I want you to grab your wrist and squeeze it a couple times. Take a nice breath, blow it out. Say the word clear.
Clear.
Mhm.
Clear.
Now I want you to think of a really good memory. Real or imagined, doesn't matter. Just go to some place that feels really easy and good. Can you make that a 10 on a scale of 0 to 10?
Mm-hmm.
Feels good? All right, just tap between your eyes right now. This is who I truly am. Just say out loud, this is who I truly am.
This is who I truly am. This is
Tap
who I truly am.
on the side of the eye, naturally and easily. Tap under your eye, just say naturally and easily.
Naturally and easily.
This
Naturally and easily.
wonderful feeling. Say
This
this
wonderful feeling
lives inside of me,
lives inside of me. Lives
like
inside
all
of me.
things.
Like all things.
And tap on your collarbone. I can have this wonderful feeling
I can have this wonderful feeling
anytime I want.
anytime I want.
It's all mine.
It's all mine.
And then grab your wrist, squeeze it around a couple times, take a nice breath, blow it out, say the word peace.
Peace, peace.
And then go back to the thing that was frustrating you before and tell me what stands out. What's the number?
Uh, Maybe it's down to an 8.
Oh, it's still there, huh? Okay,
It's
so
still
tell
pretty
me.
big.
So go to the worst part of it.
Tell you what it is?
No, 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 just go to the
Oh,
worst part of it.
okay.
Yep. Just notice how you know, right?
Yeah.
And just start tapping between your eyes
Okay.
and say, I'm never gonna let this go.
Never gonna let this go. Never
This
gonna let this
frustration
go.
is, say, this frustration is justified.
This frustration is justified. This frustration is justified.
Tap on the side of the eye. This emotion,
This emotion,
I label it frustration.
I label it frustration.
I'm an expert at it.
I'm an expert at it.
I know frustration well.
I know frustration well.
And tap under your eyes. A lot of things that frustrate me,
A lot of things that frustrate me,
especially this thing.
especially this thing.
I know what frustration looks like,
I know what frustration looks like,
sounds like,
sounds like,
feels like.
feels like.
And tap on your collarbone. My frustration.
My frustration
Don't make me let it go.
won't let me let it go.
Don't make me let it go.
Don't make me let it go.
Yeah, okay, grab your wrist, squeeze it, take a nice breath, blow it out, say the word clear.
Clear.
Then go back to that favorite memory, that thing that was really enjoyable.
Yep.
Just feel really easy. Can you make that a 10, the good thing?
Yes.
Look at it, make it bigger, make it brighter, hear it, make it sound more crisp. Wonderful. Feel how easy it is to be in your body when you think about this wonderful thing. And then go back to the thing that was bothering you before
Yep.
and tell me what's left.
Well, about a 7.
You're at a 7, right?
Maybe a 6. Yeah. I guess I hold on to things maybe worse than other people, but it is getting better. It is. It is.
Well, how do you know it's going to be better?
Well, I feel like it is.
How do
I'm
you
feel
feel it?
I'm feeling like a sense that the frustration parts are part, as they say, part of the business. The yin or the yin, however it works, whichever one is the negative side of the cycle is just part of the inverse of the positive side. And sometimes to dwell on those negative things is what I do, but to see those negative moments or those moments that seem blocked themselves, maybe they're not the fault of the people I'm blaming, but they just have bigger things that they're not telling me because
All
of.
right, just start tapping between your eyes right now
Sure.
and say, I dwell on the negative.
I dwell on the negative.
Remember to lift your chin a little bit here. Just lift your chin up. Yep, I dwell on the negative.
I dwell on the negative.
It's a bad habit.
The bad habit
Keeps me frustrated.
keeps me frustrated.
Tap on the side of the eye. I'm done dwelling on the bad.
I'm done dwelling on the bad.
I'm breaking old habits.
I'm breaking old habits.
Tap under the eye. I'll miss my frustration,
I'll miss my frustration,
but I'm ready to let it go.
but I'm willing to let it go.
Because
I'm
I'm
ready to
really
let it go.
ready. I'm ready for them to read my scripts.
I'm ready for them to read my scripts.
And tap on your collarbones, letting go of this frustration,
Letting go of this frustration,
this bad habit of dwelling on the negative.
this bad habit of dwelling on the negative.
I just let it go.
I just let it go.
It's safe to let it go.
It's safe to let it go.
I deserve to let it go.
I deserve to let it go.
I deserve to have my scripts read.
I deserve to have my scripts read.
And grab your wrist and squeeze around a couple times. Take a nice breath, blow it out, say the word clear.
Clear.
And go to your favorite memory again, that good thing.
Yep.
Can you make that a 10? Feel really good there?
Yep.
Awesome. Just enjoy that. Fill yourself up. Step into your body in that amazing, wonderful space. Take a breath there. Squeeze your wrist. Say the word peace.
Peace.
Great. Now go back to that thing that you were doing before. And tell me what's there.
On a number scale, it's
Yeah.
it's lowering to like a 5 to a 4 or 5. It's lowering. It's
Oh my
lowering.
gosh. I'm so sorry. You're going to have to get rid of this bad habit. Oh my gosh. You might not be able to be frustrated anymore. Damn it. They're going to strips.
I do feel more relaxed though, Suzanne. I do think it's working. I think what I'm just a very frustrated person. So to go from a 10 or a 9 to a 5 in a matter of moments, that's good for me. I
Great.
see that as a victory, not a bad thing. I think that's good.
All right, so you have to just keep working at it. So that's the
Yeah.
process. I call it the 3RP method. That's my method. 3RP stands for resolve, release, reframe, and project. So notice how maybe the second round of tapping, you were starting to have some clarity about some wisdom of, hey, I'm kind of a, I do this all the time to myself, and also it's just kind of a part of the business that you don't always get every script read. So you can have a broader perspective than just that frustrating feeling that was keeping you all tangled up. You start to loosen your grip on that and you start to rise from it. And then you can have a different perspective about it. And you can say, oh, you know what? This is just part of the business. And that's okay. And that part of me that's has a bad habit, well, let's break that bad habit. Let's work more on that. Every time that we find ourselves, going into that, negative, that frustration, just let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Breathe and let it go. And you'll break the trance of that thing.
I think that's great, and I think what you're doing here is very helpful, and I think it's more about me working on it, and I appreciate this. This is really cool, and
Yeah.
I wanted to mention something that we were talking about before we went on the air, which if you could chime in a little bit, because I've read so many screenwriting books, Suzanne, and one of them, which is a great book, it's a compilation of interviews, and it's called 101 Secrets of Highly Successful Screenwriters. I think that's the title of it. And there's kind of a common refrain in that book that if you want to be a great screenwriter, you've got to write 4 hours a day. And some other suggestions might be 10 pages a day or 2 hours a day. But there was a common refrain of 4 hours a day, which I don't have an issue with that lesson. I do find it hard to actually do that in practice. Like not, I'm some days I might write 10 hours a day. Some days I might write 8, but some I might write zero, and I might write zero for 3 weeks in a row. So my only statement that I wanted to get your input on was I feel that sometimes screenwriters or writers in general don't become couch potatoes; they become desk potatoes or coffee house potatoes. They go somewhere to write, but that is their excuse for not engaging in exercise or walking on the beach or maybe just going to the movies themselves or playing frisbee or tennis. And granted, we're in a state of pandemic and we're trying to social distance, but there's still things you can do exercise wise. And I know it's harder for people in the big cities, but I mean, I'm talking about going to a park. I went to a park yesterday and there was like 4 or 5 people there. So the point is, sometimes I get worried about my fellow writers and myself included that we become so in sync with our computers, our laptops, our keyboards, our pages and pages of scripts that while we're writing about real life, we're missing out on real life, especially the physical element. And that can kind of get you inside your head too much and a balance gets thrown off. And maybe can you comment on that a little bit, what I just mentioned there?
Sure. Well, the first comment you made about, how many hours a day to write. I don't really like those guidelines so much because I really feel like everything, it's unique to you. So if you're a writer who doesn't need to write for a few days, then that's fine. I kind of translate it to if you were going to be a marathon runner, some people need to train for 5 years before they can run a marathon. Some people only need 3 months. It really depends. It's all relative. It depends on where you're at when you come into your writing and the person that you are. So even if someone says write 4 hours a day, that might not work for you. And I'm all about what personally works for you. You know, I think that we so much follow kind of the standards of what we're supposed to do or what someone tells us to do, but we're not really honoring who we are. And then to your other point of, doing that writing on those days that maybe you write for 10 hours, you don't even get up to go to the bathroom or remember to drink a glass of water. And those are the days maybe you're in the super flow. But I mean, anytime we create habits for ourselves, like making sure that 3 times a week we go for a walk, or 3 times a week we decide to, you know, um, go to a yoga class or walk, go to the beach or meet up with a friend to go play tennis. We need to have a full life because it's in that life that more of our creativity gets sparked anyway. And the more that we're moving our body, the more that energy can flow through us. And then that's going to translate up to more creative thinking. When we get stuck and stagnant in the body, we have a tendency to just kind of like overfeed ourselves or, um, not be in full expression of our body. and we just keep weighing ourselves down. So I think creating a habit to go out and be in the world at least one time a week or something to look forward to, and then honoring that time and knowing that that's actually going to help you be more creative, help you make sure that your body's in a full expression. You know, in the evolution of our thinking mind, it literally has like left the body and just has kind of taken off. And we're really coming into times now where we need to be integrated mind and body, because the body has so much wisdom, the body has so much knowledge, and that we've just been so disconnected between, from the neck up. And we need to kind of put our head back on and then learn how to regulate our experience of our body and feel safe in that experience, and then use it and leverage it to have access to deeper parts of our own experience of life and the wisdom about it. That's why I say I love working with writers, because sometimes I take them on their own personal hero's journey. And that will help them to transform some of the maybe unresolved life events that have kept them emotionally limited and not able to, get into deeper levels of their own emotional wisdom, which is really going to help them when they do that work to be able to hook audiences in the audience's vulnerability. If you can touch on your own vulnerability and transform it, you really can write from that place too. And that's what that full body expression is. So many things I just said there, but bottom line is, create a habit for yourself to get, out of your environment, to know that being in nature is going to help you have a full body expression. If you can do that in a couple different ways, through sports or walking or doing other activities, like you said, going to the movies, have a full life for yourself. That's going to be really helpful. And then, be willing to go into those places and spaces in your own life experience that might need some more work done on it. That's going to help you get deeper access into connection with yourself. And I think the true freedom in life comes from feeling comfortable in your body, safe in your body, expressive at your authentic level, whether it's in your writing or in your life. And that's going to help by getting and moving your body. So go out and create some of those habits.
There's what you just said there was loaded with great information and thoughts, and you said the hero's journey, that there was a PBS special. Of course, I have the books as well of the hero's journey,
Mhm.
and a philosopher in the late 1970s wrote a series of books, and there was a PBS special, the hero's journey, and then there's another book, a follow-up, not by the same writer, called the writer's journey. So if screenwriters are out there and if they're familiar with the hero's journey, which explores things like Star Wars and how Luke Skywalker is the hero and he goes on a great journey and he has to find a mentor sage like Obi-Wan Kenobi and so forth. It's very well-known piece. I'm just kind of drawing a blank. Maybe I'm too relaxed. I'm drawing a blank now on the original creator. But I do want to mention you are doing an online class. Sorry that we missed yesterday because we had to reschedule a few times once again on my end, but you had a writer's class that hopefully you'll be doing again. Do you want to tell us how the writer's class online went and how people can find out if you end up doing this again, and hopefully you will, where they can sign up for it?
Sure. Well, always, go to screenwritenow.com, which is my website. I have all of my events and services that are listed on there. I did teach a class yesterday for the International Screenwriters Association called Just Right Now, which was a class to help them to identify and clear their blocks and get into their writing rhythm and flow. So I kind of share with them the same thing I did with you, kind of a little tapping intro, and then we got out kind of our class workbook, and we worked through many different kinds of blocks, everything from kind of blank page syndrome to inner critic to I can't focus to do I belong, belief in myself, lots of different ways that blocks can kind of come up for us. And then I also shared how you can use tapping to project more of what's good in your life. I mean, we don't always have to be tapping on the bad, but we kind of all live in kind of like an overstimulated, overwhelmed world where we're living more of in a negative bias mindset than ever. And it really takes a little bit more focus to get into a positive mindset. But when we're there, we really can build on that and really create some momentum in a good direction for ourselves. So I was sharing with them how to do that too. So I hope and plan to teach more classes at the International Screenwriters Association. They have their own website, networkisa.org, I believe. You can check out, they have other great teachers and classes there too. I have another class that's going to be coming up. I don't have a date for it yet. It's called Get Pitch Ready. And it's a class where I teach screenwriters how to take and build on how to take the scripts that they've already written and either submit it to a festival or a contest or to an agent or to a manager or to a producer, whoever it is that they're wanting to do that for with, and have the confidence to be able to submit, and then also the resilience to handle the feedback. And that is the more important thing too, is to be able to handle the feedback and know that, you know, someone's opinion is just their opinion. It is not a criticism completely of your work, but to continue to have the confidence to go out there and continue pitching. So that's what that class is about, is called Get Pitch Ready.
I think that's great. I actually, right now, I'm a subscriber to ISA Connect, is the way that if people are looking for ISA, there might be a few different ISAs online. One way to find it is to put the words, the ISA, and then the word connect, and then just make sure it's the screenwriting one, and that should be it.
Right.
It reminds me of what you said, the amount of rejection that comes for screenwriters. And there's even a book called The Screenwriter Got Screwed But Didn't Have to. Actually, it's just called The Writer Got Screwed But Didn't Have to. And a screenwriting teacher that I took years ago, Chris Sparling, who wrote the movie Buried with Ryan Reynolds, suggested that book. And just the title of it tells you all you need to know. But get the book, because there's so many ways that screenwriters in particular, because they're so anxious and eager to have their work recorded, they forget to copyright their scripts. They forget to cover their bases. They sign a lousy contract. They get screwed out in negotiations. So it really is a thing where you have to value yourself as the writer, because without these scripts, there's no films, people.
Yep, absolutely. And I feel like we're really moving into energy times of today's day and age where people are shaking free from old belief systems that have been rooted in groups, organizations, institutions, cultures, religions that have told us who we are supposed to be, for that have created us living in cycles of self-betrayal. And we're really shaking free of that and coming into our own authentic self. So your writing is very valuable. Your writing is very worthy. You just need to believe it. And when you don't believe it, you get the results that lead you down a path of rejection and frustration and all the other host of, you know, out of control feelings that you might have about your work. But all that can be all that can be kind of come back to baseline when you create a sense of calm, confidence, and you project that curious aliveness into your work, and you really embody all of that from a place of wisdom, which is knowing that, you know, you are a valuable contributor like everybody else on this planet. And so that's where I want to help writers to know that, you know, their art is so important to the world because it shows up on the screen or it shows up in a book that's going to change someone's life. And so your words are so critical, but you have to believe in them yourself and no longer subscribe to someone else's belief system, but really your own, and trying to identify who, you know, figure out who you are and what your belief system is, I think was what we're dealing with right now in today's day and age. And so go on that journey.
Well, a lot of what you're saying towards screenwriters, Suzanne, is what I've been saying to my acting students as an acting coach. I always tell my acting students they have to generate their own projects. They can't wait for the phone to ring. If you go to see a Brad Pitt movie, George Clooney, Nicole Kidman movie, Denzel Washington, 9 times out of 10, stick around for the end credits or even the opening credits. When they say producer, when you see a George Clooney movie, George Clooney produced it. When you see Renee Zellweger, but also the girl from the lady from Legally Blonde,
Reese Witherspoon.
Reese Witherspoon. She's a producer now. Oprah Winfrey's been a producer for 25 or 30 years. These are A-list talents. They're not sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. They're generating their own projects. Now, granted, some of what they're producing might be to sign a paycheck or to put their name on it. And are they actually hustling to produce? I don't know. But the point is, for the person who's undiscovered or a struggling artist, whatever you want to call it, you have to produce your own material, your own content. If you're sitting there waiting for the phone to ring, as an actor or even as a screenwriter, you might be waiting for a long time. You've got to generate your own projects, is my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that that's great advice. And I want to interrupt and also add that if you're sitting here listening to that saying, "Oh yeah, that sounds great, Mike," but I'm not Oprah, I'm not Reese Witherspoon, I'm not this person, that person. Well, I want to invite you to start to ponder, what do these people think about themselves? What do they tell themselves about themselves? How do they feel in their body when they're producing? How do they feel about their acting? How do they feel about their writing? What kind of things, what kind of behaviors do they exhibit? What do they do? What habits do they have? Because if you're not there yet, then they're showing you the path. So leverage how you know their thoughts, behaviors, emotions, experiences. And if you can perceive them, then they're your own because we're only perceiving based on our own reality, right? So lean into who those people are as you know them and practice their traits, which are really just more of your own, and develop them until you become as successful as you want to be.
The other thing that we had in common that just briefly, we both moved to the state of Florida, and not that everyone has to move to Florida by any means. In fact, people can find comfort or joy wherever they are in the world. But I do feel that the act of moving, not necessarily to a specific state or from a specific state, in my case, it was from New England, Rhode Island to Florida, but I could have been moving from Florida to Rhode Island. The point is, I think that sometimes people feel like they're born somewhere, they have family, they have friends, they have connections, they're comfortable. I think that's all well and good, but sometimes comfort kills, and sometimes being in the same place your whole life, I don't think that's even natural, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at birds, birds migrate or animals move around. I just find that a lot of my friends that I was with in New England were not happy. I wasn't happy, most importantly. But for me, a lot of my friends that I talk to, there's some reason that they would never consider leaving where they are. Not just Rhode Island, friends in Virginia, friends in Maryland, they're stuck in
Well,
their little ecosystem.
their own expansion. People are afraid of their own expansion. You have to become a curious explorer of life. But so much of stress in our body, in our nervous system, stops us from taking that leap forward because all we can do is just manage being in the tornado of our own stress. And when you learn self-regulation skills like tapping, there's other techniques out there too that can help you feel more safe in your body, then you have access to that part of you that wants to become a curious explorer, and then you have freedom to go and move other places. But those people that live exactly where they've always been, not, and some people want to stay there, that's fine. But if the people who are kind of like, oh, I wish I could have that kind of confidence to go out in the world, it's your body is stopping you. It's your nervous system that's stopping you. So learn self-regulation skills, physically, emotionally, mentally. That way you can go out and start to live the life that you want and be able to go and explore other places and live other places, because it is always through travel that we have just a total shift in perspective about things. So if we can do more of that, then really we'll just be in the flow of life.
Well, and to that point, for me, Suzanne, especially with this horrible pandemic that nobody was expecting, although, to be honest, there's a good side of the pandemic, which is the environment. If nothing else, the environment's getting a break. So maybe our planet needed this pandemic to survive. Maybe the people that have passed away, that have gotten sick. I've known a person that passed away. One of my acting students died from this horrible thing, and a friend of mine got very sick from it. But the point is, maybe our environment needed a reset. Our environment needed a breath from all the pollution and all the cars and everything. So, but I just wanted to say real quick that for me, the life I've had for the last 12 months in Florida, if I compared it to what I would have been doing in Rhode Island had I stayed, I really would have been depressed and or miserable, because I know exactly that the neighbors that I had in the area that I was living, they would have not reacted well to this COVID. I'm sure they're going nuts. I would have been driving down those same roads I've been driving down for many years, and I would have been so incredibly frustrated with the horrible New England weather for 5 or 6 months. I'm
Yeah.
really glad that my point is not to put myself over here, but just to say I moved in 2019 on an instinct that I had to move now or I never would. And if I had not moved in late 2019, 6 months before this pandemic, and established the things that I had, and I'm not talking about big exciting things, just places to go that I'm comfortable, a couple of restaurants, a couple of parks, a couple of coffee houses, a couple of movie theaters. If I had not established those things 6 months before this pandemic, then once the pandemic hit, I never would have been able to move because of all the regulations with
Well,
state-to-state travel.
the most important thing that you just said in all of that was just that you followed your instinct. You had a hunch, you had a gut feeling, and there was a part of you just said, let's do this. If we don't do it, we're never going to do it. We got to do this. So, I mean, I just encourage everyone to start to feel into those gut impulses because our gut brain is our biggest brain of our whole body. And start to get in tune with your gut and start to believe those hunches. If it says, hey, move to Florida, move to Florida. You know, if it says, hey, go try a different movie theater, go try a different movie theater, go do something different, whatever, follow your gut. And so congrats to you for following your gut and getting to a new environment where you're stimulated in all different new ways. And not to say that it's easy for everybody. We like what we look. I call it the Mark Zuckerberg effect, right? He wears the same shirt, same jeans, same shoes, same sweatshirt every day. You know why? Because he doesn't have to think about it anymore. He like locked it down. He doesn't have to think about it anymore. So he just does the same thing over and over and over again. But that can keep us in a routine if that is our only life. If our only life is to be able to choose what we wear and we're wearing the same thing every day, well, then we're not really, experiencing life. So break out of that mold and go experience your life by following your gut intuition. And if you don't know how to follow your gut or you feel like, oh, I thought I was following my gut and I didn't know, learn self-regulation skills because it will help you be able to get into your body safely and feel into those hunches, feel into those impulses, and then believe them and then explore them. Explore them.
Well, it's the T-shirt that I wore today, Suzanne, was for a reason, and it's a quote from Rocky 3, I believe, Apollo Creed, when he says, "The toughest opponent you'll ever have to face is the guy in the mirror," and that of course could be the woman in the mirror. But basically, it's saying that your greatest challenge, we're all our own worst enemy and our best friend as well. But the choice comes every moment, every decision, and one thing, Suzanne. Going back to my move real quick is that the sense that I was getting from some family and friends is, why do you have to go now? Why not just wait a year or two, see what happens, or what's the big rush, or hey, you're in a comfortable position right now, why go now? Well, the answer was not to be revealed until the pandemic hit, because when I decided to move, I originally thought, hey, I'll move in 2020. Well, then I went to Florida to try it out, and I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to leave in late 2019. Had I not changed gears and pushed my move date ahead 6 months or a year, I would have been stuck. And
Mhm.
like I said, for some people they don't understand it, but for me, dealing with 5 or 6 months of lousy weather was a death sentence. It was a depression. It was miserable, and it wasn't just 1 or 2 years. I was there for a long time, so I gave it a shot, and I met a lot of good friends, and I did a lot of good things there, and I still have those friends, and they're just a phone call away. But the point is, people should not resist the urge to take action, because you don't know what's going to happen that would stop you 6 months or a year later. That's my point.
Yes, absolutely. And so great for you for following your impulses because it put you exactly where you're supposed to be so that you avoided a whole winter of depression. And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh shoot, last year I thought I felt I should have done something different and I didn't, you still have the opportunity to, feel into your body and lean into that curious part of what's next. And I know that it's so hard when we're living so overstressed and overstimulated, but hopefully you remember a little bit of the tapping of what we did today. And all you have to do is just focus on how you know your stress and tap at the same time. And all you have to say is let it go, or don't have to say anything, but just tap on the energy points and be willing to move through it. You'll get some more of that mental fog, and that brain fog will start to clear up and you'll get some clarity and you'll be able to trust those impulses more strongly than your fear about them, that you can take those leaps.
Suzanne, as we wrap up, I want to give you the final word. I want you to please tell us your two websites again, and any final words you want to say to the MikeMessier.com audience, the Mike Messier YouTube channel audience, the people, groups like Actors Biz. I'll probably share this in that group. A wonderful young lady named Anastasia, although it's an actors group first, they probably get a lot out of this. And Hollywood East Actors Group, the Jacksonville Film Group that I'm in, all the film and film festivals, Film Sponsors LLC. I'll probably share this video in 20 or 30 groups at least. Rhodywood, very supportive. My friend Tony Demings out of Wilmington, North Carolina, and his 20 or 30 or 50 Rhodywood Facebook group. So this video will make the circuit. So if there's anything you want to say and plug your websites one last time, please do so.
Well, my website, again, my name is Suzanne Gundersen. My website is screenwritehow.com, where I help screenwriters. And then I also have another trauma healing website called Transformed Connections. And I'll leave you with these final 3 core principles that drove me to do this work. The first is a quote by Henry Ford. It says, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you won't. So really, truly, you are what you believe. The second is a quote by Dr. Joe Dispenza, who wrote Being Supernatural, The Placebo Effect, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And his quote is, you can't think greater than how you feel. And so really learning how to regulate your emotions and touch on them with wisdom is really what's going to help the writer be able to share his own experience with vulnerability to hook his audience or her audience in the writing that they express. And last is the definition of neuroplasticity, which really just means, in short, that our brain can change. Our brain has the ability to adapt, change, and grow. And this really gives us so much hope for the fact that we're not stuck with a life sentence of what we've lived, that we really can change how we think. We really can change our lives. So combined all together are my 3 core principles that drive me every day to help people be able to, shift from what they no longer want, which is what they know specifically what it looks like, into, more of that, what they do want, which is that leaping into curiosity and aliveness. So thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate the conversation.
Suzanne, this has been terrific. I look forward to meeting you in person someday, and I look forward to seeing how you and your career of helping writers and citizens in general continues. Thank you so much for being here. For MikeMessier.com, Mike Messier YouTube channel. If you're seeing this and you've never seen me before, I have some great interviews. The Geico Man, the voice of Geico, and one of the brothers McMullen, Michael McGlone, has an interview on my Mike Messier celebrity playlist. The UFC legend Randy Couture, the natural Randy Couture. I know you're a big UFC fan, right, Suzanne? It's Ultimate Fighting. So I've got one of the greatest Ultimate Fighters of all time is going to interview on this playlist that you're on. And just some wonderful things here. Maria Kanellis on the Mike Messier YouTube channel. But Suzanne, this has been a pleasure. I hope this interview helps people. And I hope that if they're so inclined, they don't hesitate to reach out to you and get further career development. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks everybody for watching.